Hello everyone, welcome back to Mathematics Adda channel. Now today in this chapter 12 of class 10, that is applications of trigonometry chapter, let's see how to deal with the trigonometry, how to apply the trigonometry in this chapter. Actually trigonometry is an ancient branch of mathematics that has various uses in different fields like astronomy, physics and geography and etc. So in physics, for example, to find out the distance between two distant planets, we use trigonometry concept. But in this chapter, how we use the trigonometry, let's see. So in the previous videos of trigonometry, whatever we have learned, the trigonometric ratios and angles and values, that all we apply here. In the trigonometry chapter, we use it to draw the diagrams based on the given information of the question. And we do the same here, but only the difference is there we use it to draw the diagrams which were simple when compared to the diagrams of this chapter. So here we have to majorly focus on how to draw the diagram. That is very important. Okay, if you draw a diagram perfectly in this chapter, then we can say that our 50% answer is completed. So that much we have to give importance to draw the diagram. And how to draw the diagram, which concepts are related to draw the diagram, that are very important to understand, and those are three main terms we have to understand here. That is first one, line of sight, and what is an angle of elevation, what is an angle of depression. Let's see clearly. So what is in the line of sight? Actually, for example, if an observer is standing on the ground, let us suppose that an observer is standing on the ground and he is looking at an object which is in the air. For example, he is looking at the object in the upward direction. Okay, if the object is here, he has to look in the upward direction. If the object is downward, then he has to look at the downward. Okay, so the line which is joining his eye and the object is usually called as line of sight. What is in the line of sight? The line joining the observer eye and the object is called as line of sight. Okay, and the next, what is an angle of elevation? For example, an observer is here and he is watching an object in the upward direction. He is watching the object in the upward direction. So we can draw one horizontal line from his eye. One horizontal line we have to draw from the eye of the observer. So whatever the angle is occurred, whatever the angle is formed between the line of sight and the horizontal is called as angle of elevation. Okay, and remember, this horizontal should be always horizontal to the ground. So this is generally called as horizontal, and the horizontal is drawn from the eye of the observer. And third one, angle of depression. So what is meant by angle of depression? Actually, for example, if an observer is looking at the object in the downward direction, for example, object is the below the observer and the observer is looking down in the downward direction, and if you draw a horizontal line like this, then the angle formed between the line of sight, this is called as line of sight, and this is the horizontal we call. So the angle which is formed between the horizontal and the line of sight, this in the downward direction, is called as angle of depression. Here you need to understand one main thing, common thing in these two is, whatever may be the angle, that it may be angle of elevation or angle of depression, but the angle should form between the line of sight and the horizontal. This is the line of sight and this is the horizontal, and the angle is formed between these two only. And here also this is the line of sight and this is the horizontal, and the angle is formed between these two only. Okay, and it is not necessary that the person should be on the ground only always. For example, if you consider one thing, for example, a person or the observer is standing here on a building on the first floor, and exactly opposite we have one tower. So I am taking this as tower. This is the foot of the tower, and this is the top of the tower. If the observer is looking at the top of the tower, then we say that if you draw a horizontal line, then this angle is said to be what? Angle of elevation. Why? Because he is looking in the upward direction. Angle of elevation. And if the same person from the same position, if he looks in the downward direction, that is, if he look at the foot of the tower in the downward direction, then the angle formed between the horizontal and the line of sight is called as angle of depression. Now I think you understood what is in the line of sight, angle of elevation and angle of depression clearly with this diagrams. Now let us see some more important rules for drawing the figures in applications of trigonometry. So that is, when we want to solve the problems of heights and distances, we should consider the following. First one, all the objects such as towers and trees and buildings and ships and mountains, everything which are vertical, okay, shall be considered as linear. Linear means we have to take as line only. For example, a tower is there. For example, this is the ground and a tower is standing on that. So you need not to draw the tower like this. You have to draw the tower as a line only. Okay, so that is the meaning of this. Second point, the angle of elevation or the angle of depression is considered with the reference of horizontal line only. As I just told you that the angle of depression or the angle of elevation is compulsory should form between the horizontal and the line of sight. So here you can see the line of sight is there and this is the ground. So he is looking upward direction, so this is angle of elevation. Okay, the angle is formed between the horizontal, ground is nothing but horizontal, and the line of sight. And here also the angle of depression is formed between the horizontal and the line of sight. And let us look at the third one. The height of the observer is neglected if it is not mentioned in the problem. For example, if nothing is mentioned, an observer standing on the ground and watching at an object and the angle of elevation is 60 degrees or 30 degrees, if we mention like this without mentioning the observer's height, then we should not take the observer's height into the consideration. Okay, we should neglect the observer's height. And now let us look at one more important note, that is, as we have seen that angle of elevation is this, and here also we can draw one horizontal like this which is parallel to this horizontal. So I am keeping arrow marks for our convenience. Okay, now this is parallel to this, so these two are parallel lines and we can consider this line of sight as what? Transversal. So in 7th class we studied that if a line intersects two parallel lines or two lines at two different points, then we say that that is transversal. So if we consider this line of sight as transversal of these two parallel lines, then we can say that these two angles are equal. Why? Because they are alternate interior angles. Okay, so this angle will be this angle equal to this angle. We can use this concept in our problems. And similarly here also the angle of depression is formed between the horizontal and when the observer looks in the downward direction. Now here also you can draw the horizontal, okay, which is parallel to this. I am keeping arrow marks for our understanding. So now these two are parallels and this line of sight is acting like as transversal. Now these two angles are also alternate interior angles, so they are also equal. We can use this concept in our problem solving.